This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Right now at 6 on Good Morning Indiana. The number of coronavirus cases takes a dramatic jump in Indiana.
They are all someone's spouse, grandparent, parent, child, or friend. And I do not want Hoosiers to see these rising numbers and think that that means that the peak has arrived.
We're live this morning with what the numbers say about the future of the virus in the Hoosier state.
A pop-up testing location will open this week in Indianapolis, and anyone can go to it. Only Call 6 Investigates is showing you where it's happening and what you need to know before you go.
The calendar has changed to April, and that means rent and mortgage payments are due. This morning, the options you have if you're laid off and can't afford your bills.
And with school online, more kids are sitting in front of TVs and computers. Working for you, we're looking at if you should be limiting your child's screen time.
And here at 6 o'clock, we want to welcome you into Good Morning Indiana on this Wednesday.
It is April 1st. No shenanigans around here, though, we promise, other than that Raphael is still down in his Johnson County Bureau. We cannot account for if he's got any tricks up his sleeve.
I have jokes, but not today. Let's get you your forecast this morning, Todd. We're hoping, right? We're hoping for some warmer weather as we hope. Warmer weather. We hope that Mother Nature is not laughing at us today.
Yeah, you know, yesterday was the cool day. We got it out of the way now with a high temperature of only 43 degrees. And today is the day we kind of start to turn that corner a little bit. It's still a little below normal temperature-wise today, but once we get to tomorrow and beyond, I really think you're going to like the forecast. And I'll share that 7-day with you coming up in just a few minutes. This morning, if you do have to walk out the door within the next couple hours, temperatures range from 38 to 42 degrees. Skies are mostly cloudy, and we still have that damp feeling that is out there. Yesterday evening, we got into a few very, very spotty rain showers, and that was just enough moisture to kind of give us that damp feel. And you notice all the clouds that are still in place across the area. But as that storm system, which has really started to weaken, moves up off, to New England off the East Coast, that's going to pull the clouds with it. As the day progresses, we will see decreasing clouds, but at least through the morning hours, the clouds are going to hold pretty tough. While that happens, temperatures won't really moderate much, only up to 45 degrees by the noon hour. But once we do see that sunshine, Lauren, temperatures should climb into the low 50s.
Todd, thank you. Here's a look right now at traffic in the downtown area, I-65 and I-70 here. As you're heading into downtown, maybe at the South Split. You can see traffic is moving along just fine. No crashes or delays to report at this hour around the Indy metro area.
This morning, Metro Police are investigating the death of a young boy on the city's northeast side. Officers were called to 32nd and Tacoma Avenue on reports of a person shot around 11 last night. When they arrived, they found a boy under the age of 12 suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. He later died at the hospital. Investigators are working to figure out what led up to the gunfire and who was involved. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers.
Now to the latest update on the coronavirus in Indiana from the state health department. Officials say that 49 deaths in the Hoosier state are now blamed on COVID-19. More than 2,100 people have tested positive for the virus, and more than 13,000 Hoosiers have been tested so far. The state health department is warning Hoosiers that a spike in COVID-19 related deaths reported yesterday does not mean that we are at the peak yet. Our Alyssa Donovan is live with us this morning. And Alyssa, what are those daily numbers showing us?
You know what, those new numbers are showing that rapid increase that you're talking about, Lauren, but the state health commissioner says that this is not the peak. She says as more people are tested, those death rates are going to rise now, but also she's stressing that this is not the peak of coronavirus here in Indiana. She says we are still weeks away from that, and during the governor's press conference on Tuesday, the state health commissioner, Dr. Box, explained that these numbers mean that the cases, she says rather, that the cases with more than 2,000 confirmed cases and 49 deaths. Box wants Hoosiers to understand that the Department of Health's updates may not be a true snapshot of how many cases or deaths were marked on that day. The deaths reported on Tuesday were in a time span of 14 days prior. They did not all occur in one day. She says she does not want people to get a false sense that we're seeing the worst of it with these rising numbers.
I do not want Hoosiers to see these rising numbers and think that that means that the peak has arrived. We have a very long way to go before we reach the peak, and I cannot say enough about how important it is for you to continue to stay home.
And since Monday, the number of volunteer medical professionals has doubled. Now 11,000 Indiana medical personnel will be assisting with this crisis. That includes retired doctors, nurses, veterinarians, therapists, and dentists. Dr. Box also stated that soon they will be updating those case numbers twice daily so that they can keep the public as well as emergency responders informed. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you so much. Our team coverage now continues from Call 6 Investigates. New this morning, we talked to an Indianapolis doctor who is the first to set up drive-through testing for COVID-19 right here in Indianapolis for the general public. This is all happening as Marion County, the heart of our state, leads Indiana with the number of people with the virus. It happened on Saturday. It will happen again. Drive-through testing for COVID-19 in an Indianapolis neighborhood. Dr. Dorian Kenley offered the tests as people sat in their vehicles on the 4000 block of East New York. The doctor has a contract with Texas-based AIT Labs to administer the coronavirus screening.
This is about the length of the swab.
Okay.
This is inserted through the nose, and it goes into the back of the head, and we kind of tickle you kind of where the uvula is. So the uvula is the part that hangs down, the dangly ball as they call it sometimes.
Okay. Sounds painful.
It is not pleasant.
We connected using FaceTime. You're the only one doing this besides Eli Lilly. What's going on?
At the time that I started this, to be very clear, this is something that I tried to put together very quickly to kind of meet the urgent need.
Dr. Kenley hopes to expand his testing to various places in Indianapolis, at least 6 days a week. He charges a $100 flat fee to cover the drive-through exam. He expects that insurance, Medicare, Medicaid will cover the lab testing fee. Why aren't more doctors saying, you know what, let me do this?
I can tell you, based on my experience this week doing this, it is a very, very difficult thing to do logistically. A couple of the challenges that I had were getting the appropriate Medicare emergency approvals. I had to make a lot of phone calls to Wisconsin and Washington to get approvals to be able to do this. I had to establish the lab relationship. Availability of test kits is a big deal, especially for the stuff being distributed through governmental channels, which is one of the reasons I went through a private lab, because I was able to get that online. And hopefully one of the things we're going to see is more involvement from private lab companies to get us the resources that we need.
The Indiana State Department of Health is focusing its testing on the most vulnerable Hoosiers, and at Eli Lilly and Company, its drive-through testing is for now only serving first responders and healthcare workers. Dr. Kenley is among the first locally to make COVID-19 testing available to anyone willing to show up and wait their turn. So let's get right to it. New details this morning. That local testing site, it starts today and runs through Friday. It is open from 10 this morning until 5. The location, 1400 East 12th Street. Meredith?
All right, Raphael, what is the state health department telling you about what this doctor is doing?
Well, state health officials are not specifically commenting on this case, but two things to keep in mind. To get the testing, it must be ordered by the Indiana State Department of Health or your physician, and that testing must be done by an FDA-certified lab.
But ATI Labs, who he is using for the testing, is not on the official lab list for the FDA.
Good catch on that, Meredith. In fact, we did some checking on that. So I spoke to Dr. Jay Reddy with AIT Labs out of Texas, and he tells me that he is waiting, his company is waiting for a EUA, Emergency Use Authorization. You need that from the FDA to run the test. AIT Labs does not have that yet, so they're working with a Massachusetts-based company, Thermo Fisher, which does have its EUA, and it is FDA approved. So as long as AIT runs its test through Thermo Fisher, these tests that the doctor is doing are legitimate, and so for now, all is okay. I should also point out that the FBI did contact the doctor yesterday, and the FBI is watching this process that is now going to sort of develop here in Indianapolis. We'll see what happens.
All right, Raphael, we will continue to follow what this doctor is doing, and we will have more on that drive-through testing later today on the news at noon.
Time now is 6:09 as COVID-19 cases continue to rise across the state of Indiana. Our RTV6 is finding out how local hospitals are responding. We spoke to a doctor with IU Health, Dr. Cole Beeler. He's just one of the many healthcare professionals caring for patients, and he's getting ready for more. He tells us as there are now enough gowns, gloves, and masks to meet the need, there are also enough ICU beds, but they are filling up quickly. The hospital is adding more to keep up with this demand.
We are getting some modeling together that looks like we should be able to meet this surge and have enough resources to get through it.
While Dr. Beeler says IU Health has enough supplies right now, the hospital system is accepting donations of personal protective equipment. Several others are as well. So you can find a full list on our website, theindychannel.com, if you have supplies to donate.
While we are practicing social distancing, health leaders are reminding parents not to let the electronics take over. Our Kelsey Anderson joins us with advice from one pediatrician. Kelsey.
It can be easy right now to hand the kids the iPad or the gaming system, anything that will keep them entertained right now while we're practicing social distancing. But experts are reminding all of us to keep our screen time limited. I spoke to Dr. Rebecca Dixon with Riley Children's Hospital, and she says as a mother of 4, she understands it can be hard to work and keep kids entertained and out of trouble all day long. But she wants to remind parents it's important that their kids get away from the screen and get some physical and social activity.
I think you can keep the regulations relatively the same if you can. So an hour of screen time for leisure a day is really the recommendation, although I have to say, give yourself some grace and some wiggle room. If it needs to be more than that, it does. It won't break the bank.
She tells me in her home, they are not considering e-learning as leisure screen time. So she's still giving her kids that hour of free screen time after their schoolwork is done. Dr. Dixon says the Indiana chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics is a good resource for parents looking for new ways to entertain their kids at home while we're all social distancing. We've got that linked for you over on the RTV6 News app. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
Kelsey, thank you. Well, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, and that's even true for most people without jobs. So coming up at 6:15, we're breaking down what you need to know before you file for unemployment. Todd.
It was a chilly day yesterday with temperatures in the 40s, but the good news is the temperature trend is looking in an upward direction as mild temperatures will start to work in over the course of the next few days. Today, we're still in the 50s, but the 60s arrive tomorrow, and you're 70 degrees by Friday. We'll talk all about this coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast. The time now is 6:12. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on RTV6.
And Keller, right now.
The coronavirus outbreak has resulted in massive layoffs around the country. Many Americans have and will apply for unemployment benefits. Annie Taylor is working for you this morning with the information you need to make to sign up as quick as possible.
If you've never applied before for unemployment, first take a deep breath because this was probably really sudden and shocking.
In the past couple weeks, over 3 million people were laid off from their jobs. And now those people who may have never done this before will have to file for unemployment benefits.
Unemployment benefits is monetary relief when you've been terminated from a job.
Vicky Salemi, a career expert for Monster Jobs, says full-time and part-time workers can apply. And in some states, gig workers like Uber and Lyft drivers can also file for unemployment benefits.
Now, state eligibility and state rules differ. So your best point of reference for your own state is to go to careeronestop.org.
When you're there, here's what you'll need when filing. Social Security number, driver's license, why you are no longer employed, wages earned over the past year, and your employer registration number, which can be found on your W-2 form. Good news, many states have waived the 1-week waiting period before you can receive benefits.
And once you apply and you receive your first check, you'll be paid for that first week of unemployment.
How much money can I expect? My full paycheck?
It will not be your full paycheck. There's a calculation that differs by each state.
These benefits will go straight into your checking account each week if you have set up direct deposit. It's important to note that unemployment benefits don't last forever.
Unemployment benefits can last up to 26 weeks, which is more than 6 months, but you do need to claim every week.
During this time, Vicky says it's important to look for a job.
You do need to show that in many states that you are able and available to work and that you are applying to jobs and pursuing opportunities.
I'm Annie Taylor reporting.
So as we focus on you, we're hearing the word furlough a lot as businesses have to make some really tough decisions. So what does that word mean? What does furlough really mean to you? Usually it refers to a layoff that is temporary. Some companies will continue to give furloughed employees benefits. Others are promising to rehire those workers when business returns to normal. Now, regardless, when employees are furloughed, it is treated like a layoff. You should be able to apply for unemployment benefits. Time now to check your forecast. Todd, we're hoping for some nice warm temperatures and to put that coat away for a while.
Yeah, you know, we probably need the coat still this morning and this afternoon, but once we get to the afternoon hours the next couple days, Raphael, I think everybody's going to kind of get that spring fling again as we'll get some sunshine in here and temperatures are going to be up in the 60s. And I would expect once we get to the end of the week and into the weekend with a nice string of 60s and 70s heading our way, a lot of the trees that haven't done so already are going to start to bud here across the air, and a lot of flowers will be starting to appear as well. I know Lauren was asking about her lilac bush, and that's probably coming here in the next few days, as will the tulips and the magnolia trees, some of which have already bloomed. Still below normal today, as I mentioned. A warming trend is coming, and some small rain chances are ahead as we go into this forecast, but nothing major heading our way. 40, a common number in and around the metro area, 36 in Crawfordsville, 42 is the current temperature in Muncie. As we work our way throughout the day today, you have to be a little bit patient this morning. There's still a lot of moisture out there, and with this moisture and clouds around, temperatures are not going to move much at all throughout the morning hours. But once we start to thin the clouds out, working our way into the afternoon hours, temperatures eventually will be climbing up into the low 50s across the area. So there will be improvement as the day goes on. It's just going to be a slow process, especially at least through the noon hour. The clouds have actually expanded across the area during the course of the overnight hours, now into the early morning. So we wake to a lot of cloud cover. What will happen, though, is this storm system that gave us a few spotty showers yesterday, as that moves off to the east, we'll see gradual clearing throughout the day as these clouds just kind of thin apart because of the drier air that starts to work its way into the forecast. We'll never completely get rid of them, but nonetheless, it turns into a partly sunny afternoon, and the sunshine this time of year stronger, so it makes all the difference in the world between 50 and cloudy and then 50 with some sunshine like we'll see later on this afternoon. Tomorrow, partly cloudy up into the 60s. It gets better from there, though, as we work our way into the weekend. Temperatures will stay above the average high of 58, which is this yellow line. And then you notice the big spike as we work our way into Monday as those temperatures approach 70 degrees. So it's not a bad 7-day planning forecast at all. There's some minor rain chances on Saturday. And then again on Monday and Tuesday, no all-day rains, no real heavy rainfall, no thunderstorms heading our way. And you notice those temperatures, once we get past today, high temperatures at least will be above normal from Thursday all the way into the middle of next week. Meredith?
Todd, thank you. One of the big questions on everyone's mind is how long will it take life to get back to normal? Economists are especially busy trying to figure out that answer. Some believe that the economy will bounce back quickly once it's safe to reopen businesses, but others aren't so sure. A recent Harris poll survey shows 30% of Americans predict it will take them 4 months after the pandemic passes to want to go to sit-down restaurants again.
It's the first of the month, and that means rent and mortgage payments are due. New at 627, we're looking at the options that you have if you've been laid off and can't pay your bills. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on RTV6.
TV.com.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. It is 6:24, and it is time, you guys, to talk about what is trending at 6. So a lot of people, like the elderly, aren't supposed to be out and about right now. Right. So a lot of people are being awesome volunteers and delivering their groceries. So that is the case in one Oklahoma town. They're bringing elderly residents at the Senior Living Center their groceries, but it's how they're doing it that's catching some eyes. The volunteers are on horseback. Organizers say the residents don't have much to look at, so this is a way to provide a little entertainment entertainment too.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
Healthcare workers on the front lines of the novel coronavirus pandemic are in desperate need of surgical masks. Now some nurses in Glenwood Springs, Colorado are taking things into their own hands. They're using blue surgical wrap to make masks that'll be worn over N95s to extend their use. The nurses set up a sewing room in the hospital where more than 5,000 masks have already been made and sterilized. Wow, way to be proactive.
Wow. That is awesome. Students nationwide, they're wondering if they'll get a graduation ceremony this spring. It seems unlikely, but 2 students in Leesburg, Virginia are taking matters into their own hands. Ariana Wright and Aiden Bullis are taking orders for and are delivering graduation yard signs that say class of 2020 seniors, all in this together. Those are amazing signs. Without realizing, they say it's bringing the community together. And we really wish the class of 20 all the very best, as they're also facing some difficult situations, right? So good luck to all those graduates.
Yeah.
I did see, though, on social media, some people making use of our current situation and doing the 2020, but the zeros were toilet paper rolls.
Oh, I like that.
So, you know, you gotta have a good sense of humor about the situation we're in at some times.
Yes.
All right, Todd, and it is April Fool's Day today. Do you have a joke of a forecast for us?
Nope, I don't do those jokes on April Fool's Day. So there was this one weather guy I did know once. He always did a fake 7-day planning forecast.
Oh,
but he
man.
couldn't fool me back in the day. So I'll leave the jokes aside here. Lots of clouds this morning, some sunshine later on this afternoon. Temperatures climbing to about 45 degrees by the noon hour, but it's really not till this afternoon that we get into the sunshine, and it's going to be partly cloudy. We're never going to completely clear the clouds out, but temperatures will eventually climb up into the 50s. A little warmer actually to the west where you get into the sunshine a little bit quicker. The further east you are, you hang on to the clouds a little bit longer, and that's why high temperatures over in the Muncie and Richmond area will only be right around 50 degrees.
All right, Todd. Well, with the $1,200 stimulus checks on their way and the government boosting unemployment insurance, many out-of-work people will soon be getting that financial help. But what can you do if you can't pay the bills that are due right now? Working for you, our John Matarese shows you what you may be able to do so you don't waste your money.
Millions of Americans are now stuck at home, and many of them suddenly have no income. So what can you do if you can't pay next month's mortgage or rent? For many of us, our personal economy has been turned upside down by COVID-19. Casey Marchal lost her job when her office locked its doors. Now the mortgage and bills are piling up.
I have medical bills upon medical bills upon medical bills for a medical emergency I had last year. I'm so close to paying it off.
But help may be coming. Many of the nation's biggest banks, including Bank of America, Citi, Chase, U.S. Bank, and Wells Fargo, and others, have agreed to allow laid-off homeowners a 30 to 90-day grace period. Most have also agreed to delay foreclosures and evictions for 60 days. But from the Doesn't That Stink file, landlords demanding a rent payment even if you're out of work. Even the Cheesecake Factory announced it cannot pay April's rent for its closed restaurants. Cities across the country are now passing eviction moratoriums, preventing a landlord from tossing you out. Even if you don't have that, call your landlord. Most will give you a break. But Bankrate.com says avoid payday loans. They'll just make things worse. For more coronavirus consumer news, go to theindychannel.com so you don't waste your money. Working for you, I'm John Matarese. Good morning, Indiana.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Now on Good Morning Indiana on this Wednesday morning, here's a look at your 6:30 news feed. Metro Police are investigating the death of a young boy near Indy's northeast side. Officers were called to Tacoma Avenue and East 32nd Street around 11 last night. That is where they found a boy under the age of 12 who had been shot. The boy later died at the hospital.
Federal prison inmates will have to remain in their cells for 2 weeks because of the coronavirus pandemic. The order includes inmates at the Federal Corrections Complex out in Terre Haute. The Federal Bureau of Prisons says there will be limited group gatherings for showers, laundry, and phone calls. More than 24 inmates in federal custody have tested positive for the coronavirus.
An employee at an Amazon fulfillment facility in Indianapolis has tested positive for COVID-19. Amazon says the employee is now in quarantine and will receive up to 2 weeks' pay. Anyone who had contact with this person is also being ordered to self-quarantine with pay. Amazon says they have also increased sanitizing at all of its sites, and they are implementing steps to ensure social distancing. 6:30 here on your Wednesday morning, April the 1st.
That is right, and we don't have any April Fool's jokes to tell you this morning. Raphael, at least we don't here in the studio. What's going on down there in Johnson County?
So no jokes, but as you know, the flowers change every day.
Yes.
Here at the Johnson County studio, and we know that Todd Clausen loves tulips. Todd, these flowers are well watered. We don't want to see any rain today, so we need some sunshine.
Yeah, you know, eventually we'll get some sunshine in here. That's the good news, and I bet you there's going to be a lot of flowers starting to pop out here across central Indiana in the coming days, because it's going to be a nice stretch of mild temperatures, not like one day here, one day there like we've been seeing. Today, though, is kind of that in-between day. Yesterday was real chilly with the high of only 43 degrees. Tomorrow we get into the 60s. Today is that transitional period. It's still cloudy this morning, and the clouds will hold pretty tough throughout the morning hours today. But by the noon hour, eventually a temperature up to right around 55 degrees. It's really this afternoon that these clouds will start to thin out and we'll get into that sunshine. In fact, these clouds have been thickening and overspreading the area throughout the course of the overnight hours. But the clear skies are just back off to our west. Be a little bit patient this morning, and eventually we do get into the sunshine. And once we do see that sunshine, the temperatures will climb up to anywhere from about 50 to 55 degrees for your afternoon highs. Once the 60s return tomorrow, they're with us for a while. More on that in your 7-day planning forecast coming up in just a few minutes. But at 6:31, let's get another look at traffic here with Lauren.
All right, Todd, here's a look right now at traffic over on the west side. Traffic's picking up, as you can see here on I-465, a view near the Sam Jones Expressway. The good news, if you are heading out to work this Wednesday morning, no crashes to report around the metro area to slow you down. It is 6:31. Indiana now has more than 2,100 confirmed cases of COVID-19. 49 Hoosiers have died from the virus. A total of 2,159 people have tested positive. 964 of those cases are in Marion County, with 17 deaths in this county alone. There are also more than 100 cases in both Hamilton and Johnson counties.
Here are the latest numbers nationally. The coronavirus map at Johns Hopkins University shows the U.S. with almost 190,000 cases of the virus as of this morning. The number of deaths in this country surpassed the 4,000 mark on Tuesday.
The grim reality is that many more Hoosiers are expected to get the virus and possibly die. Our team coverage now continues with our Alyssa Donovan, who is live this morning. Alyssa, has the state given us any indication as to when the number of COVID-19 cases may peak?
You know what, Raphael, they say that we are still weeks away from that peak. They expect that surge to happen mid-April and into mid-May. And while we are seeing those numbers increase right now, the state health commissioner says that this is just the start, and she is stressing that to Hoosiers today. She says that during the governor's press conference, the state commissioner explained why they are seeing this large increase in cases and deaths. The increase does not mean all of the cases and deaths occurred in the same day. The results are posted when the information is reported to the Indiana State Health Department. And at this time, health leaders are also urging hospitals to update their bed capacity counts daily.
You might not see the value in this today, but in 2 to 4 weeks, you are going to want that information at your fingertips. Our EMS system needs that information to make real-time decisions about where to take patients when hospital capacity is stretched thin.
And eventually the hospitals will be asked to report these numbers twice a day to better inform first responders on where to transport patients. And the good news is more and more people are stepping up to health. We were told on Monday that 5,300 clinicians, these are people who have potentially retired, doctors and nurses, or people from other medical professions, had stepped forward to assist during the coronavirus outbreak. And now we've been told that number has increased to 11,000 clinicians. So quite a few people stepping up to help during this time. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you. It might be troubling to see the rising number of COVID-19 cases and deaths, but health leaders say social distancing measures are beginning to pay off. During yesterday's task force briefing, Dr. Anthony Fauci explained that the number of reported deaths and hospitalizations lags behind the information showing that in some areas there are fewer new cases every day. He also urged Americans not to get discouraged.
This is tough. People are suffering. People are dying. It's inconvenient from a societal standpoint, from an economic standpoint, to go through this. but this is going to be the answer to our problems. So let's all pull together and make sure, as we look forward to the next 30 days, we do it with all the intensity and force that we can.
Despite the message about social distancing, at least 20 states have still not imposed restrictions. That includes many states in the South like Florida, Georgia, and Texas.
At 6:34, President Trump says national issues over the lack of coronavirus tests have been solved. But that isn't what some governors and other officials from some of the states are saying. The president's coronavirus task force insists millions of test kits have been sent out all across our country. Some governors are saying they're not seeing the tests yet, and they're having to compete against each other for the ventilators and other medical equipment that's in short supply.
That's just not true. I mean, I know that they've taken some steps to create new tests, but they're not actually produced and distributed out to the states.
It's like being on eBay with 50 other states bidding on a ventilator, and you see the bid go up.
Some states also have received more medical equipment from the national stockpile than they requested, including Oklahoma and Kentucky. States like Illinois, Massachusetts, and Maine have received a fraction of what they've asked for so far.
Lauren, in Indianapolis, a doctor is now hosting a pop-up drive-thru to do coronavirus testing here in the Circle City. I'm talking about Dr. Dorian Kenley, who's working with a private lab to provide those COVID-19 tests. Here are the details this morning. It will be open from 10 to 5 at 1400 block of East 12th Street in Indianapolis. He's charging $100 for the exam. He expects insurance, Medicaid, or Medicare to pay for the lab fees. I spoke with Dr. Kenley about his service, and he tells me, of course, this about the testing.
A lot of the testing capacity that we had initially was coming through the state health department, through those agencies. What I did was I contracted with a private lab company who can get me test kits quickly.
That contract is with AIT Labs out of Texas. Results are provided within 48 hours. A spokesperson for AIT says they're still waiting to get their FDA approval. So for now, their tests are being processed by another lab that is already FDA approved. The Indiana State Department of Health is reminding all of us that COVID-19 tests must be ordered by a doctor or by the state, and those tests must be processed by an FDA certified lab.
While we are home practicing social distancing, it probably means you're spending more time in front of a screen. That's especially true for children, many of them doing e-learning for school. Our Kelsey Anderson spoke to an expert at Riley Hospital about how not to let electronics take over when we're stuck inside.
Right now, we're all working to find our temporary new normal, and trying to work in your home office plus entertaining the kids can be difficult, and you might be tempted to give them a little extra screen time. But health experts are reminding all of us to keep screen time limited. I spoke with Dr. Rebecca Dixon with Riley Children's Hospital. As a mother of 4, she says she understands it can be hard to work and keep kids entertained and out of trouble all day long. But she wants to remind parents it's important that their kids get away from the screen and get some physical and social activity that doesn't involve interacting with the neighbors.
Even though it's really tempting right now to let your kids go out and play with the neighbor kids down the street, if we really are going to keep this virus as contained as possible, it really is important to keep your kids from going down the street and playing with the kids down the street.
Dr. Dixon says the Indiana chapter of the American Academy for Pediatrics is a good resource for parents looking for new ways to entertain their kids. We've got it linked for you on the RTV6 News app. She tells me in her home, they are not considering e-learning as screen time. So after e-learning is over, she's allowing her kids that hour of leisure screen time, whether it be on the phone, the computer, or gaming system, or even the iPad. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
Kelsey, thank you. COVID-19 is straining health systems all around the world, but it's also having an impact on many other types of patients. Next, how one man is worried that a surgery that could save his life may get delayed.
You're about to graduate and go into the medical field when a pandemic hit. Coming up, the story of a student about to head straight into the outbreak right after an unusual graduation. It's 6:39. We'll be right back.
All products shipped from a U.S. warehouse.
Well, Welcome back. It is 6:41. From depression to domestic violence to organ transplants, COVID-19 is impacting other parts of our healthcare system right now. Life-saving surgeries are not stopping during the pandemic, but some people on the transplant list are worried. Richard Waltman reached out to RTV6 with questions about whether he'll stay on track to get a new kidney and heart. We took his concerns to the COO of the Indiana Donor Network. He says the organization is working with the State Department of Health to make sure that donors are tested for the virus.
We certainly don't want to pass on a virus to someone who is immunosuppressed as a recipient. That is a very, very dangerous thing, and so we're really looking out for those recipients.
RTV6 also reached out to Ascension St. Vincent. The hospital says the post-transplant process has been modified to include virtual consultations. Raphael.
So there's an urgent call for more healthcare workers, but those students that are training in the medical field have seen their training interrupted, like Joe Titus at Marion University. He says his in-person classes stopped back on March the 16th. But like other courses, they're doing their clinicals online so that students can still graduate in May. The Indiana State Board of Nursing says it is also streamlining the way that nurses are tested and licensed during the COVID-19 outbreak. Titus says he is ready to be on the front lines.
As I am a young, healthy nurse, I can put my best foot forward, and if I happen to contract the virus or a future pandemic like this, I could fight it off better than some people.
Now, to help with the pandemic, Governor Holcomb, he signed an executive order allowing medical students to apply for a temporary license in the state. Recently retired medical professionals are also able to apply for that as well.
The stimulus money is on its way, but are you ready to receive it? Next, how to make sure you get the check or direct deposit coming to you.
It's hard to keep the city clean when we're stuck inside, but coming up, we'll show you a way to keep Indy beautiful from the comfort of your own home. Todd.
And our high temperature today is going to get up to 53 degrees, but it's going to be a slow process to get to that number. That number is going to be achieved pretty late in the day as we're starting off with morning clouds. We'll get into some afternoon sunshine, but the good news is 53 is the coolest temperature I have in our 7-day planning forecast. I'll show that to you coming up in Maine weather in just a few minutes. The time now, 6:44. Stay with Good Morning Indiana. We're back in just a few minutes.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Indiana, live from our Johnson County studio. If you filed your 2018 or your 2019 tax return, you have nothing to worry about if you're expecting to get one of those federal stimulus checks. Now, it's a totally different story if you haven't filed your taxes in years. And so here are the details, things that you need to know. That includes low-income taxpayers, some senior citizens and veterans, Social Security recipients, and people with disabilities. If you fall in one of these categories, you're still eligible for a stimulus check, but here's the big one. You still have to file a simplified version of a tax return. That's right. You must file a simplified version of a tax return. It includes information like filing status, number of dependents, and direct deposit location. Those relief payments will be available through 2020.
Blue Indy is already on its way out of Indianapolis, and now the car sharing service is suspending operations indefinitely to slow the spread of coronavirus. Kiosks across the city are taped off right now. The company says they're suspending the service until further notice. Blue Indy's agreement with Indianapolis is scheduled to end for good on May 21st.
At 6:47, if you're looking for something to do outside today, you can participate in this virtual cleanup project with Keep Indianapolis Beautiful. The group holds hundreds of cleanups a year. In spring, it's normally their peak time. This year, they're asking volunteers to just clean up around their homes and neighborhoods while maintaining a good social distance. Just grab a bag, some gloves, pick up trash, snap a picture if you can, and don't forget to wash your hands and your phone when you're done. The organization says it's a great way to get the community together during this time.
I want to make it really simple to get as many people involved. And I mean, imagine if all 800,000 plus people in Indianapolis went outside for just 10 minutes and picked up litter. How clean and amazing that would be for the community.
Again, this virtual cleanup is happening this afternoon at 12:15, wherever you are. Raphael.
So with so much of the world being forced to stay at home, Lord, as much as possible, other creatures are now starting to roam outside. Check it out. A coastal town in North Wales has found a whole new meaning to the phrase herd immunity after goats were spotted roaming its quiet streets. Residents of the town spotted herds of goats strolling around over the weekend. They had plenty of things to graze on, as you can imagine, grass from yards and church grounds, flower beds. They essentially had the entire town to themselves. Now time to check your forecast with our own goat, greatest of all time, our Todd Clausen, standing by with hopefully a beautiful forecast. Hey Todd, I can say that here in Johnson County, I'm going to keep my 4-H status. No goats this morning roaming the streets of Franklin.
All right, none roaming now. Hey, they could cut your lawn for you as the grass starts to grow here. Never say never, Raphael. All right, you mentioned hopefully some better weather coming our way. I think we get there. Today's kind of that transition period still from yesterday where we had a high temperature that was only at 43 degrees. Today, we'll tack 10 degrees onto that. This is my forecast high for the day today, 53 degrees. The average high is 58, so we're still 5 degrees below normal. Tomorrow, we should get above that number of 58 as we climb up into the 60s. This morning, as you walk out the door, if you have to do so, there's a damp feeling. Temperatures are still in the 30s and 40s across the area, but everybody's within a couple degrees of each other. That's because we're all in the same air mass. We all have the clouds in place this morning, and we are all dry. There's that damp feel, but there's no precipitation falling from the sky. What's going to happen throughout the day today is these clouds will start to thin out as this area of low pressure starts to make its way off towards the east. It's this area of low pressure that gave us those spotty showers yesterday evening. But when you look off to the west, you don't have to go too far to find the clear skies, and that's what will slowly start to work its way in throughout the course of the afternoon hours. So your dog walking forecast today, and our featured dog is Chloe. You may see her roaming the south side of Indianapolis with Susan. She's all decked out there in her hearts. This picture was sent to me back in February, so I have a lot to get through, but that's why she has that heart bandana on there throughout the day today. We have green paws. We're good to go. No rain's the forecast. We just have to be patient for the clouds again to start to thin out across the area. It's a slow process. Not really expecting it to happen until this afternoon hours, first in western locations and then eventually off towards the east. So Richmond, you're going to be a little cooler probably than my high of 53 degrees, probably a little bit warmer off to the west where we get into the sunshine just a little bit quicker. Going forward in your planning forecast, though, I really think you're going to like our extended stretch of weather. Tomorrow, 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Friday, looking great, 65 above normal, a mixture of sun and clouds, completely dry. Once we get to Saturday, there could be a few spotty showers, but otherwise partly cloudy skies, a temperature of 64 degrees. And then high temperatures by next week will be climbing up into the 70s. So we've kind of turned the corner here. We're stringing a bunch of days in a row together with above normal high temperatures. Spring is finally going to really make an appearance here and stay for at least more than 1 or 2 days. As far as the showers, Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday, those will be very spotty in nature and should be very, very light. Lauren?
Todd, thank you. We're all doing a lot of virtual meetings right now. Oh, rather, we're going to get a check of your forecast or your traffic right now. I'm getting all jumbled up here. This is I-60. Yeah, April Fools to you all. This is I-65 at West Street and MLK as you're heading into the downtown area. You can see traffic is traveling up to speed. No delays or crashes around Indy to slow you down at this hour.
All right, as Lauren was saying, we are doing a lot of virtual meetings right now, and that means new technology for some people, and that sometimes leads to hilarious results. Coming up, how a boss's Zoom problem brought about some badly needed laughs. We'll be right back.
Days from 4:30 to 7.
A lot of people like you, Raphael, are working from home these days, and that means virtually all your meetings are done over the phone, over email or text, or more likely using video conferencing. A lot of us are using apps like Zoom and Google Hangout to connect with our coworkers.
Which means that some of those apps contain a lot of filters or backgrounds so that you can have some fun, right, with the people you're talking to on Zoom. But sometimes those filters get out of whack. So check this out. Twitter user Petty Clegg posted this. She says her boss could not turn off a certain filter during the Microsoft Teams meeting. So she spent the entire video conference as a talking potato. She couldn't figure out how to change it. Now, to her credit, the boss later posted on Twitter admitting her digital ignorance and proclaiming, "I am potato boss." She also urged everyone to stay planted at home and stay safe. That's awesome.
Oh my goodness, petty. That is funny. I love that. We do Zoom meetings here for our meetings at RTV6 now, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone tried the talking potato.
Hey, remember Mr. Potato Head back in the day? Maybe the kids are breaking that out now that they're quarantined and they can't go out. So.
Well, hopefully they can go out today, Todd.
Yeah, I do think you'll be able to get out and about today. It starts off a little cloudy, a little damp here this morning, but the clouds will thin out as the day goes on. We'll get into more sunshine later on this afternoon, going from mostly to partly cloudy. Highs in the 50s today, but 60s arrive tomorrow, and then we stay in the 60s all the way into next week.
All right, Todd, thanks so much, and thank you for joining us. We're back here in 25 minutes and all throughout Good Morning America with news, weather, and traffic.
All your news throughout the day can be found on the RTV6 app.
Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow morning. GMA is next, right here on RTV6.